In our last lesson, we were talking a lot about how to change the lights in a scene. Now let's talk about shadows. In order to have a shadow, we need to have two objects. The object casting the shadow and the object that the shadow is casted onto. So let's start with this fresh screen. We're going to click on the starting cube and we're going to get rid of it. Now we have our light and our camera. We're going to use a new object today. We're going to add a mesh plane. A plane looks a lot like a mesh cube, except that here from the top-down view, we see it looks like a square. But from the side view, if we press 1, you see that's completely flat. So a plane is just that. It's a four-sided object that is only two-dimensional. If we look through the camera by pressing 0, we see that object. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to push S and grow the object a little bit, just to give us some space to play on. And then we're going to click it. Now going back to 1, we're going to click up here and we're going to add a mesh UV sphere. Okay. Now if we look here on the from the 7 menu, it'll seem like that sphere is sitting on the plane. But actually, if we remember that the plane was at this red line, we need to grab and move it down so that it's actually on top of the plane. Now, if we move, we can see that this ball is sitting on the plane. Okay, so 0, we can render this. We're going to click on the scene window and then hit render. And we see here that we have a ball and we have this tabletop. And luckily for us, we've already done what we're trying to accomplish, and that's add a shadow. Let's go back and look at the scene to pay attention to how that shadow is created. If we push minus here to zoom out, we see that the light source is on this side of us. So the light source is coming down, but it can't hit the bottom of this. And because it can't hit the bottom of this, there's a little shadow. Imagine that you were looking for some kind of rest from the sun. You could find some by hiding underneath the curve of this sphere. And so when it renders a little bit down here. Most of the shadow, though, is being pressed off behind it. Because like I said, like we saw, the light source is right about here. So as the light shines down, it creates a shadow behind the ball. If we close the render window and we move the light by right-clicking on the light, we're going to hit G to grab it, and we're going to move it to this side. We now see that when we render, the shadow is on this side of the ball. Because again, now the light is here, which means that it's going to light this side but cast a shadow here. A good way to think of this is the way that the sun moves across the sky. As the sun goes lower, the shadow goes longer. So if we go back and we lower this, G to move it down, and then render it, we see that the shadow is a little bit longer because it's hitting it from a sharper angle.